Nigerian High Commission holds President Buhari in London.
Federal government concludes evacuation of Nigerians from Sudan.
All of them have been fully returned back home. I can declare that there is nobody at the moment in the Egyptian side.
Abuja Airport runway reopened for operations after incident involving Max Air.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall discuss stabilizing the Naira after May 29th.
As it stands today, the Nigerian currency, the Naira, is undulating between 733 to 737 Naira to a dollar in the parallel market, even though the official exchange rate is around 461 Naira to a dollar.
Now, last year alone, the Naira suffered depreciation, whether at the official or parallel windows. This was amidst galloping inflation and lingering forex scarcity exacerbated by depleting foreign reserves, as well as the surge in demand for foreign currency by Nigerians seeking to settle import bills, school fees, and other demands by households and corporate entities.
Well, Kingsley, don't forget that the cash crunch period of last year, occasioned by the Naira redesign policy, brought about a situation where Nigerians had to use Naira to buy Naira owing to the scarcity of the new Naira notes, which perhaps still remain in short supply to date. And Kingsley, of course, that's also an indication of the fact that there's poor preparedness in terms of implementation of that policy, even if up till now that we're yet to have sufficient new Naira notes.
Well, the old and the new Naira notes are supposed to be used concurrently.
Till December.
Till December 31st. And there's the very thin connection between the scarcity of the new Naira notes and the value of the Naira. I think that one of the critical factors that we should remember was what happened during the conventions of the political parties last year here at the Federal Capital Territory. Before the conventions, that's to say the conventions to pick the presidential candidates of the political parties, the exchange rate of the Naira on the parallel market was around about 600, or slightly under 600.
Yeah.
And of course, there were allegations of mop-up of hard currency by politicians and their associates, and that shot up the value.
Yeah, yes, we got the point. It was almost 900 Naira.
Absolutely, and then it was getting close to 1,000 until, of course, we had a conversation around that with the Bureau de Change operators and the EFCC, ICPC, the central bank. Everybody stepped in and said, look, we must put a stop to this reckless speculation. Now, many Nigerians, of course, are uncertain if the Naira redesign policy achieved its aims, such as checkmating holding of cash, because suspected holders of illicit cash continue to scramble to change their money into foreign currencies, now, which of course affects the value of the local currency.
Exactly, and even though the central bank injected $15.3 billion into the economy between January and October last year to stabilize the value of the Naira, some economic analysts think this did not do much to help the Naira rebound, as it kept declining even after a raid on Bureau de Change operators last year.
With a new president expected to be sworn in on the 29th of May 2023, expectations are high that the right macroeconomic policies will be formulated and implemented to shore up, among other things, the value of the Naira.
And the president-elect Bola Tinubu has already hinted in his manifesto that his administration will work with the CBN to harmonize the fiscal and monetary policy to achieve immediate stabilization of the value of the Naira against the US dollar and other foreign currencies.
Economists have, however, said repeatedly that having multiple forex windows is a bane that affects the value of the Naira. Now, it wasn't surprising, too, when the World Bank, in its April 2023 macro poverty outlook for Nigeria, recommended a single forex market as one of the critical reforms needed to strengthen the Naira and fast-track recovery of the country's economy.
Well, again, the 2023 electioneering, which Kingsley mentioned earlier on, could have, of course, played a role in the devaluation of the Naira with the amount of money bandied about by politicians for purchase of farms and political campaigns. Plus, of course, rigging of the election and with vote buying as well. And all these were things that played out, in the last election.
Well, but now that the dust is gradually settling and the elections, as well as, of course, focus on the transition to power of the next administration, which will occur in the next 21 days, what strategies will the incoming government be bringing on board to stabilize the Naira going forward?
We shall interrogate the issues with our panel of analysts on Good Morning Nigeria today. I am Kirian Umayo, welcoming you to this edition of Good Morning Nigeria.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo. I join my colleague Kirian to also welcome you to the program. We are live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, and as always, from our headquarters studios in the nation's capital of Abuja. Our complimentary segments, including newspaper review, business, and sports, will feature in the course of the program. For now, the highlights of the morning news, we go over to Olajide Bello. Morning, Olajide.
Good morning, Kingsley. Good morning, Kirian. And here is the morning news. The enormous goodwill President Muhammadu Buhari enjoys from the international community, a significant impact on Nigeria's foreign policy was brought to the fore as the Nigerian High Commission in London played host to the president.
Mr. President, the Nigerian foreign policy will be kind to you for a long time, because within the space of your tenure, you have been able to bring 4 strategic appointments to Nigeria. During your tenure, Nigeria became the chairman of political security of the AU. During your tenure, too, the president of ADB was elected. Also, during your tenure, we have the opportunity of having the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations. And the icing of the cake was the Director General of the WTO. Aside from that, each time you come for a meeting here and I have the privilege of being with you, I see how African leaders gravitate towards you. That's an uncommon thing.
What I would just like to add is that you have flown the Nigerian flag so high outside Nigeria, and the respect that you've garnered amongst foreign heads of state has been absolutely amazing. And very often I kind of wish that Nigerians could see some of those more intimate engagements that you have with foreign leaders around the world, for them to appreciate just what a difference you make in terms of Nigeria's foreign relations.
As the May 29th inauguration of President-elect Bola Tinubu draws closer, Kenyan President William Ruto has sent a special envoy to discuss areas of mutual interest between Nigeria and Kenya with the President-elect. Ruto, in a letter he personally signed on behalf of the government and people of Kenya, congratulated Tinubu on his victory at the polls and extended his hands of fellowship to the incoming Nigerian leader. The Kenyan leader offered to work with Tinubu to consolidate the long-standing relationship between his country and Nigeria. The letter was delivered by Mr. Felix Koskei, who is also Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service of Kenya, during an audience with President-elect at the weekend in Lagos. In his response, President-elect Tinubu expressed his desire to work with the Kenyan president and other African leaders to champion issues of mutual interest. Tinubu pledged to work with Kenya in the areas of economic growth, development and tackling insecurity in line with his agenda for the Nigerian people. The Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport has been reopened following a temporary closure. This was as a result of an incident that involved a MAX Air aircraft. Minister of Aviation Hadi Sirika says the affected aircraft has been towed away while the runway has been swept, inspected and certified for operation. The minister regrets any inconvenience caused and appreciates all customers for their patience and understanding. Meanwhile, reports indicate that Max Air aircraft experienced a burst tire while landing at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. The aircraft was coming from Yola Airport, Adamawa State. All the 144 passengers and 6 crew members were, however, safely evacuated. The federal government has concluded the evacuation of stranded Nigerians from Aswan International Airport, Egypt. 1,116 Nigerians have been evacuated from the Egyptian border.
All of them have been fully returned back home. I can declare that there is nobody at the moment in the Egyptian side. Everybody that remains are still on the Port Sudan axis. So this is a very important milestone for us.
They're coming from a war zone. They have immediate, needs addressed, like their food. They'll be transported to the airport. We have staff going to check them in if they need that service. And any other thing that they may need, like a voluntary return would require, because all the services are voluntary, but they're available.
The Federal Road Safety Corps has issued a traffic advisory concerning a road traffic crash involving a loaded tanker, which occurred in the early hours of Sunday under the Balfour pedestrian bridge on the outward Lagos section of the expressway. The FRSC cautions impatient drivers to desist from driving against the flow of traffic from all available exit points. All road users going into and out of Lagos are advised to explore alternative routes such as Ikorodu through Shagam and Ijebu-Ode Ekpe for Lagos-bound vehicles. Some may choose Abeokuta through Shagam interchange as well as vice versa for Ibadan-bound vehicles. The Police Service Commission has approved salary payment for the 2021-2022 police recruits who passed out of the police colleges and have been in formal police work in different police commands and formations in the last 6 months without salary. The statement by the Commission said the decision was reached in the interest of national security, anchored on the need to amicably resolve the lingering issues of recruitment between the Commission and the Nigerian Police Force, which have occasioned untold hardship on the police constables. The prompt response followed an outcry and appeals from Nigerians and the 2021-2022 police recruits who are yet to be enrolled into the federal government's Integrated Payroll and Personal Information System (IPPIS) and who had not received salaries. Meanwhile, the Commission's approval for the enrollment of 1,007 recruited personnel into the Nigeria Police Force, the recruitment exercise of 2021-2022 into the IPPIS payment platform for the purpose of salary and other emoluments has been conveyed to the Accountant General of the Federation. And that's the news for now. Good morning, Nigeria continues with Kieran and Kingsley after the break. Don't go away.
Ask me what I want to be. I want to be a Lincoln. I want to be an historian whose mind must be clear, whose goal must be sharp, whose destination must be focused upon for developmental program. And once the foundation is right, Nigeria recovery is on your doorstep.
Hey, Charles. It's so hot, Auntie. You'll get used to it. Yes! What's the big deal? It's just a cereal. Just a cereal? You are talking about something that has helped thousands of Niger farmers provide for their families for decades. This cereal, we have enjoyed it for so long. It's part of our history. Is that you? And it's packed with the energy and nutrition that I know my family needs every day. That's why Golden Morn is so special to us. You get it?
Keep enjoying Nigeria's favorite breakfast cereal fortified with Grain Smart, a special combination of iron and vitamins to help your family make every day golden.
I get it now.
Nestle. Good food, good life.
My name is Mary Jolie and I am from Ogun State, but I'm based in Lagos. I've just recently taken a trip to Ibadan, and in returning I decided to take the train. So I said, I'm not so sure, but I'm willing to try.
We thank God that the commencement of this present administration, railway was at a very, very low ebb. And when they came, they took the bull by the horn.
And I'm really happy that I tried. This was probably the most seamless journey I've had since I've been in Nigeria. For example, the train left on time. I was not expecting it to leave on time. 8 a.m., we were on the move. I think it's an amazing alternative to being on the road, especially with just the traffic. It's quite intense, there's insecurity, and it would be amazing to see the government invest a bit more into more trains going into other cities and states. It would really free up the congestion that takes place on the road and leisure type of experience within Nigeria.
Honestly, words cannot express how we feel. Before the bridge, the road from here, Nasarawa to Loko, is about 74 kilometers. This is the link between Nasarawa and Loko. The bridge, which is about 3-5 kilometers across the river Benue, has been on for about 10 years now. Before now, if you live here for Loko, 74 kilometers, and somebody leaves Nasarawa for Kaduna, he will get to Kaduna before you get to Loko. The implication of the completion of this bridge is the cutting of the travel distance by about 3 hours. Our people from Nasarawa can now travel from here to Onitsha and come back on the same day. The economic and social consequences of this milestone development can hardly be compared to. The ease with which people move has opened the area, and many people are coming around now to invest in agriculture. Where to score this government on this achievement, we will score them extremely high because it has changed the dynamics of the social and economic activities of our people.
My name is Gifty Robremat. I am in Basic 2. I am from Oba Community Primary School 2. The people from Ubek, representative from the Abia State Government, headmistress and teachers from Oba Community Primary School 2, my fellow pupils, ladies and gentlemen, good day. We welcome you to this unique occasion. We thank our President Muhammadu Buhari for the school feeding program. Some of us do not eat while coming to school, but this school feeding has helped us a lot. May God bless our presidents and governors in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you, Mr.
If you just joined us, this is Good Morning Nigeria, and it's now time for Business Stories with Kunle Adeye.
With micro, small and medium enterprises, MSMEs providing jobs for the larger chunk of the population who are youths, Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency SMEDEN is pledging to give more support to young Nigerians to help actualize the quest for a vibrant economy. The agency says it will promote and facilitate development programs, give support services to accelerate development and modernize MSMEs operations by initiating ideas for owners of small businesses. SMEDEN is therefore unequivocal that taking the advocacy to youths at different levels is still on course.
We are now trying to imbibe the spirit of entrepreneurship into the children to catch them young. And we also have programs like Talent Hunts that is especially targeted at the youths, because it will help the youths to be self-employed. They will bring out the talents that they have, and we, SMEDEN, after training them, we help them to bring out the talent they have to turn it into wealth for them. Then we have other programs too, like the ICT and the Digital Skills Entrepreneurship Program that is being organized especially for these youth, so that we can actually have the mind of entrepreneurship. The children, the youths and the teenagers of this country, because they are our future tomorrow. We all know that the MSMEs are the bedrock, is the bedrock of every nation, economy of every nation.
It also emphasized that its policies are public and private sectors friendly. With Business News, I'm Kunle Adeye.
All right, that was the business news package and Good Morning Nigeria. Up next is newspaper review.
And here we welcome Chukwudi Okoli-Uwaja for another round of a review of national dailies on Good Morning Nigeria. Chukwudi, you're welcome.
You can see that I decided to get jealous today. Yeah. I abandoned my notepad. I have my own set of newspapers.
Oh, great.
Good morning, Kirian. Good morning, Kingsley.
I hope you had a pleasant weekend.
I did. My team bounced back to sector yesterday. 2-0 against Newcastle.
All right. Okay.
That was a very interesting match to watch.
Oh, thank you.
It was an interesting match to watch, but of course, I think that they missed some opportunities in the series of draws that they played against Liverpool earlier, against West Ham, and.
Don't take my mind back to when harm happened to us. We have recovered.
Oh, you have recovered.
But we've lost it too.
But of course, you do know that the Los Blancos already added another trophy to their cabinet.
Yes.
For the 20th time, they took in the Copa del Rey. And there's no question about it that this is the best team that you can watch at any time, and just the sheer fluency of their game.
Very good.
And the tactical depth that they bring in from time to time. It's almost inevitable for you to be in love with
it's not just a fluency. You are going to tell me they share seamlessness.
Let's now. I think
that's the key thing. Because some other persons, on occasions when they lose, and of course, if you are a champion, you also suffer defeat. Yeah, somebody else would have been so excited.
There are so many wonderful teams across the globe. That sometimes they are walloped. You know, like the team is talking about 2-3 weeks ago, they were walloped, defeated.
Kirian, let me frighten him.
Let's not go back there.
They are playing Man City in a matter of days.
No, now, Man City is still struggling. It's still struggling to be European champions.
This is not a sports.
No, it's part of it, Mike. It's just that I want us to discuss wiki tourists and mighty Jeff.
Now you are talking and you are busy talking about West Ham.
I didn't want to ask my co-presenter how his weekend was, because he was a witness to the hammering of Roma. That's the team coached by Jose Mourinho, who is his favorite.
I've not said it again before. Yes.
At home.
No. Whether you like it or not, Mourinho stands out as my best coach globally. There are no two ways about it. He has gone to all leagues across the globe that worth his salt, and he delivered. So let's not.
I'm not his fan.
Don't be his fan, but his record speaks for him. Okay. Now let's go to papers. I have The Nation here, and of course the leadership. My colleague Kingsley has a blueprint. Okay, now let's begin. The Nation first. Above the name flag of the newspaper, Dangote Refinery for inauguration, May 22nd. That's a big feat there. Page 5 is where you get details of that inauguration. KMO, petitions hearing can't end before May 29. Pre-hearing holds today. Is also on page 5 of The Nation. Governorship poll. No secret deal with Christians. PDP says Sule. Max airplane makes emergency landing in Abuja. The two stories on pages 6 and 4 of The Nation newspaper. Now, below the name flag, IMF urges Nigeria, others to take over Russia's oil market in Europe. It's on page 4. Sudan crisis. Federal government warns against self-evacuation. No more Nigerians left at Egyptian border. Fourth batch of 834 citizens back. All right. Ex-ambassador sees bank over missing 1 billion jewelry. Page 6 is where you get this story. Now, police rescue abducted persons. That 5018 number is on page 7. Now, the lead story on the Nation newspaper, Senate and House. That's the kicker. APC, NWC to ratify zoning plan today. APC Northwest, that's the kickers now, or the riders now. APC Northwest Chairman OK Akpabio Barrow Yari won't support consensus candidate. Southeast Senators elect reject zoning to South-South. All right. Of course, the photo story is that of the returnees from Sudan. 961 property owners in Wagi Villa to benefit from regularization. That's on page 5. That's at the bottom of the Nation newspaper.
All right, Kirian, I mean, from the headlines of the stories that we are seeing this morning, and indeed from the body of our news story, I would like to apologize for the headline that we read at the beginning of the program when we said that all Nigerians had been evacuated from Sudan. That should have been all Nigerians at the Egyptian border had been evacuated. Now to the Blueprint newspaper. Below the nameplate, you have the following headlines. Senate presidency, tread with caution. Southeast lawmakers tell Tinubu and APC. ACF, Northwest Group, kick against Akpabio. Ruling party takes decision today. Sudan crisis, how we trekked for hours and slept outside for days. That's student evacuees. Vow never to return to war-torn country after ceasefire. I pray Nigeria never goes into war. That's according to a returnee. And over 800 returnees arrive at Abuja. And the photograph there on the front page shows some of the returnees who were being processed at the Nnamdi Azikiwe airport upon their return. Panic as plane crash lands at Abuja airport. Cyber threats, weak infrastructure challenges of Nigeria's payment system. That's according to CBN. PDP raises concerns as tribunal begins sitting today. Kirian.
Okay, let's just complete this before Chukwudi comes in now. Leadership newspaper. Above the nameplate, Presidential Tribunal begins hearing today. It's on page 7. Kenya President Ruto sends special envoy to Tinubu. It's on page 6. Now below the nameplate, Max Air incident, passengers stranded over closure of Abuja runway. Also on page 7. Now the lead story. Before that, let's take this. Nasarawa governorship. I have no secret deal with Christians, others, Governor Sule. Now, APC National Assembly consensus, Wase, Betara, Jaji, solely on warpath with party. It has 5 riders. Pool 287-member alliance for speakership. North Central, spoils for war. Bajabia Mila, Falake disagree over interest. Obi urges LP caucus to back choice aspirants. Tinubu should be neutral. All right, fuel subsidy. Sislak queries $800 million World Bank loan. Is on page 24. 40% pay rise. Our salaries last reviewed under Yaradua. That's according to soldiers. Pay rise. Our salaries last reviewed under Yaradua, according to soldiers. This needs a second mention. It's on page 16. Soludo El-Rufai, AIG Imokede speak on Nigeria's economy. It's on page 16. Okay, Chukwudi.
Let me make it a quick one, Kirian. I'm looking at the time and it's not particularly friendly. Dangote refinery for inauguration, May 22. And many people will say, hooray! 2 big implications. I think that the era of fuel scarcity is going to be bad, an effective goodbye, if this does come on stream, you know, when we are being told it will come on stream. And but the more important thing to consider is we are talking about fuel subsidy. Part of what makes government support what you spend on fuel is the freighting from where we go to refine, the bridging cost. Bringing it back to Nigeria after refinery, that cost is built in, and of course it makes it exorbitant for the final consumer to get it. This is not going to happen. And the Dangote issue, he's not importing. I think he's taking much of his crude here. Let me say much, but I think it's practically everything. So that bridging cost is not going to be there. Is it going to affect prices by implication? And is that a kind of a a glimpse of El Dorado for Nigerians? Or are we going to hear, oh, crude is subject to international pricing and all that?
Let me just remind you something before you continue.
Yes.
About the Dangote refinery. From conception, if I'm right, from what I've read, in the past, when it was conceptualized, it's not necessarily targeting Nigeria, really. It's not necessarily. I know Nigeria will have a fair share of whatever amount of fuel.
That's the point.
Nigeria, but it's going to sell to outside Nigeria. So it's more or less like you said, it's an international business it's into, but it's situated in Nigeria. It doesn't mean that it's going to supply us all our domestic needs. That's one.
Correct me, please. Doesn't the federal government have a stake in it at all? 20% or thereabout? NNPC. Oh, yeah. So
part of it you get.
A part of it. Whatever we get, I think is going to be good news. Quickly.
No. You raise an issue, and you can't run away from the wider ramifications of the issue that you've just raised.
Okay.
One of the concerns I've always expressed about the Dangote refinery in terms of supplying the domestic market is, where are the pipelines?
Distribution.
From the refinery.
He's always said this.
From the refinery to other locations. I haven't seen any pipelines, at least in that part of Lagos, which means that you will require vessels to take them to the various depots that you would have.
But pipelines are the ideal thing.
Yeah, well, that would be the ideal thing. That's the tank farms that you have around the coastal areas, and from there, of course, and then there is a cost to that. Don't forget, there is a cost. There is a cost factor.
Of course, yes.
You bring in
hang on a second. And this is because our investment in tank ownership is pretty low. Very few Nigerians own tanks for conveying, or tankers for conveying fuel, whether in Nigeria or elsewhere. So that's going to be a cost factor. But let us just remind ourselves of something. In fact, two things. One, there was a time in this country when licenses for refineries were being issued, and people were bragging about having refinery licenses and so on and so forth. And one argument they always made was that you cannot control the price of fuel and then expect people to invest. The price of fuel remains capped in Nigeria, and Dangote has been making his investment, and now the refinery is due for commissioning. So where are the other licenses? I'm sure those licenses have lapsed. The other issue, in terms of public policy, sometimes the way Nigerian elite reacts to public policy is such that if it doesn't benefit them directly, then they shoot it down. Over the weekend, the 13th anniversary of the passing of President Musa Yar'Adua was being marked. May his soul continue to rest in peace. On the eve of Obasanjo's departure as President, Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic, there was a concessioning of one of the Port Harcourt refineries to Dangote. Whether it was an outright sale or concession, I can't quite remember, but there was a transfer of interest. And Nigerian elite said, why must you do this? Why must you do that? Go and build your own. Go and build your own. And Yar'Adua was then compelled to annul that transaction. Today, Dangote is ready with his own refinery. Where are those who were saying, annul it?
In fact, I was on the news then. I'm one of the bulletins that I delivered then. Obasanjo signed at least 7 licenses for refineries. As a matter of fact, the Johnson also 10 of them, especially the modular refineries. And to today, nothing has happened. Get other areas I want to talk about.
We are virtually...
You don't have other issues?
Okay, fine. Please, let's do a little community news. We keep on, floating around in the metropolis sometimes. Residents of coastal communities in Ondo State have described the building up of water hyacinth as a major challenge confronting them. Remember, in those days, we were always reading about water hyacinth, it's taking up the waters and all that. The first thing is that the canoes can't move. Navigation, whatever vessels the villagers use, can't move. And it leads to surge because of displacement and all that. So I think that these communities have to be helped. They mention Ilaje, Seodo, Okitipupa, and the Irele local government areas of Ondo State. Please, let's listen to their cry. I like it when stories about villagers come into focus, because I'm one of those who accuse Nigerian reporters of running around in the metropolis while the main stories are left untold in the hinterland.
Exactly.
That's it.
Now, this Max Air incident, I don't know whether you've discussed that before. For me, I think it's a serious matter because tire busting of an aircraft is not just a joke, in the sense that I believe that the operators of airlines in Nigeria should know the importance of carrying out some investigation, or rather inspect their airlines before they take off and things like that. Because one, you see some aircrafts who has a one-out tires. You see, when a tire is one out, you will know, by just looking at it. Because I'm wondering what may have happened, that the tire busted, and they were so lucky that it didn't go beyond the area that the tire is situated.
Quickly, let's recognize that aviation safety in Nigeria has radically improved from about 15 years ago, that we should be thankful for. Then accidents would happen. Actually, it's an English proverb. Whatever you do, even in the US, there will be accidents, aviation accidents, as sophisticated as they are. But that does not in any way diminish the need for maintenance, which you're talking about. Whatever caused that tire to burst, please, let's not rest on our oars in terms of making sure that aviation is supposed to be the safest way to take people from place to place. So let them investigate and make sure that...
the AIB, that is Accident Investigation
Bureau,
will get into this, and a report will come out. But it also means that the regulators should get more strict in terms of spot checks and all that. But let's face it, tire blowouts they are not uncommon in the aviation, and yes, it could be from any source. You could have brand new tires and the blowout could
actually
also
it's called infant mortality.
Yes.
It comes out from the factory and it bursts.
Yeah,
it happens.
That's that. There was one incident, I'm sure we recall. This was over 20 years ago. In year 2000, there was Concorde. You remember the drop nose aircraft, Concorde aircraft that took off
crossing from two continents in one day.
From Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris on the way to New York. It was just taken off from the airport when the plane caught fire. Now, what happened? There was a strip of metal on the runway, and of course the tire picked it, and from there, of course, the conflagration occurred. But I think that the critical thing is that the aircraft will be grounded, and we must also praise the emergency responders at Nnamdi Azikiwe Airport, because the pilot, we understand, had radioed and indicated an SOS, and they were all on ground. And the passengers and crew were safely evacuated
aviation is improving.
From where
yes,
the aircraft made a stop. But of course, lastly, we know that King Charles III of England was coronated on Saturday. We wish him the very best. He's head of state to some 14 countries. And those countries, of course,
nominally
include Jamaica, include Canada, New Zealand, and of course Australia. But let's not forget that you're saying nominally until September 30th, 1963, the Queen of England was Nigeria's head of state.
Kingsley,
it is still nominal.
Let colonialism just go completely.
Yes, we wish him well as the
yes, we wish him well.
Also, would like him to also focus attention on those states where he's heading to ensure that they have good economy. That the UK is also assisting all those countries in in their socio-economic development strategies.
UK economy is in crisis.
No. So I'm just saying, if you are going to be a head of state of a place, you have to ensure that people in that society are also well. And on this note, we conclude the newspaper review for today. We'll do that again tomorrow when we return with a fresh package. Now, time to say thanks to Chukwudi.
About time to. The director has been generous.
For being here this morning. Chukwudi, we'll see you again tomorrow.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, Good Morning Nigeria is the program. We'll take a short break. We'll return.
Ovieme.
Oh, I wish you were here.
I'm always with you.
But it's not the same without you.
MTN 5G's amazing technology will change how we experience life and the internet. Get ready to encounter the incredible. And remember, no be juju, na MTN 5G.
You clean your teeth every morning, but that fresh breath feeling just doesn't last. The answer? Easy. You keep your teeth strong and healthy and give your mouth long-lasting fresh breath with new Oral-B 2-in-1 toothpaste. It helps strengthen your teeth and gives you long-lasting fresh breath.
So fresh, still fresh, and still fresh.
Stay strong, stay fresh. New Oral-B toothpaste for strong teeth and long-lasting fresh breath.
REFAN is the umbrella association of the over 12 million Nigerian rice farmers. Through the administration of good and quality extension services, the Nigerian rice farmer has imbibed good agronomic practices, as a result of which the average yield per hectare, which used to be 1 ton as at 2015, is today 5 metric tons. This has resulted to the increase of the national production from 3 million per annum to 9 million tons per annum. As a result of this, today Nigeria is the largest producer of rice in Africa. Since the beginning of 2015, or the beginning of Ankobora program, Nigeria has officially not imported any rice into the country. All these successes could not have been achieved without the political will of Mr. President.
I learned about the GIP loan through Mrs. Umar, who is the desk officer in Calabar South of the National Orientation Agency. I registered through her. Thereafter, I was shortlisted. At first, when I heard about the program, I didn't believe it. I was thinking it was a scam because we've been hearing a thing of this and it's been so rampant everywhere. But I was optimistic that it will come to reality. Before now, I was unable to own a stand. Before now, I was able to get few important ones, and that's been helping me to work, and at the same time make me own a stand where accessories are being sold. So I thank the federal government for the program.
Candidates who are interested in gaining admission into NTA Television College Jos for the 2022-2023 two-year National Innovation Diploma Program are to apply for admission through the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board JAMB. Courses available at the college include Film and Television Production, Broadcast Journalism, and Television Engineering Technology. Interested candidates must have a minimum of 5 O-level credits in relevant subjects including English and mathematics. They must also have a minimum score of 100 in the 2022 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination (UTME). For more information, please contact NTA Television College, Jos, or the Marketing Department of any NTA station nationwide. Registrar, Announcer.
All right, well, thank you for staying with us on Good Morning Nigeria up to this moment. Our focus today is on stabilizing the Naira after May 29, and to set the tone for the conversation, here is a report put together by Abdul Salam Jibril.
Recent slides in the official exchange rate of the Naira and the dramatic widening of the parallel market signaled that the unease in the Nigerian foreign market has intensified, testing the country's capacity as a nation to stabilize the Naira. Available data from the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN's banking sector regulators' monthly and quarterly economic reports on foreign exchange market developments in January this year revealed that from January to October 2022, the Apex Bank injected $15.3 billion into the economy to stabilize the value of the Naira. The reports noted that $4.86 billion, $4.81 billion, and $4.18 billion were injected into the economy during the first, second, and third quarters respectively, while $1.46 billion was injected in October. Some experts insist that While this has recorded appreciable gains, it did not do much towards stabilizing the Naira in the long run. With the emergence of Bola Tinubu as president-elect, following the February 25th presidential election and inauguration scheduled to take place in 3 weeks' time, the World Bank, through its April 2023 Macro Poverty Outlook for Nigeria, recommended the unification of the forex market as one of the reforms to strengthen the Naira and recovery of the country's economy. The World Bank's advice is in line with the plan of the President-elect Bola Tinubu, who has also spoken in favor of foreign exchange reforms. Recall that during his campaign, the President-elect promised to harmonize the fiscal and monetary policy to achieve immediate stabilization of the value of the Naira against the US dollar. How will this be achieved, particularly with the paucity of funds available from the sale of crude oil, which experts maintain is the primary source of foreign exchange for Nigerian imports? Some financial analysts stress that Nigeria needs to grow its foreign reserves. How practicable is this, and how much will it help towards stabilizing the Naira? Guest on the program will be speaking to stabilizing the Naira beyond May 29, 2023, shortly.
Abdul Salam Jibril, thank you very much for that background. Now we have guests from our outstations as well as here in the studio in Abuja, and of course all the guests are our regulars on Good Morning Nigeria. And I do recall that over the years when we have had to discuss issues around finance and economy, and more particularly how to exit the 2 recessions that the economy slipped into in the course of 8 years, they were all our regular guests. Here in the studios with us in Abuja, a pleasure to welcome Shuaibu Idris. Shuaibu Idris, of course, is a banker, financial consultant, and a regular on Good Morning Nigeria. He's Managing Director, Timeline Consult Limited. Shuaibu Idris, a great pleasure to have you in the studios this morning.
Good morning, Kingsley. Good morning, Nigerians, and thanks for having me once again.
And from our Lagos Network Center, we've been joined by Dr. Tokbe Fashwa. Fashwa is founder, CEO of Global Analytics Consulting. Dr. Tokbe Fashwa, we're glad to have you this morning.
Good morning, and thanks for inviting me. Good morning, Nigerians.
And also there with him in the studios is another regular on Good Morning Nigeria, Dr. Aminu Gwadabe. Dr. Aminu Gwadabe is President, Bureau de Change Operators of Nigeria. Dr. Gwadabe, we're glad to have you this morning.
Good morning, Mr. Kingsley. Good morning, Nigerians, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, gentlemen, it's good to have you, especially Dr. Aminu Gwadabe of the Bureau de Change, because of course we're going to also probe into what happened last year with respect to the government policy on Bureau de Change operation in Nigeria. We'll juxtapose that, as we make progress in this conversation. But first of all, gentlemen, we're talking about stabilizing the Naira. Of course, we've laid a foundation for this conversation, and we have also thought towards what will happen after May 29, 2023, when the new administration would have been inaugurated and ushered in. And as we speak, we've just been joined again by our regular guest, as my colleague will always call them, Professor Michael Baden. Professor Michael Baden, of course, is a professor of economics and chairman, Goldmark Education Academy, Benin City, also non-executive director and member, Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Professor Baden, it's always a pleasure to have you with us on Good Morning Nigeria. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Kirian. Good morning to you and Kingsley. It's my great pleasure to be with you. Good morning, Nigeria.
I would like to start with you because you're a key stakeholder, and of course, Amanda plays a key role in designing the nation's monetary policy and, of course, a fiscal policy. So you are in the know, whatever actions the Central Bank of Nigeria may have taken in the past or taking presently to ensure the stabilization of the Naira. In your view, where are we now with the Naira and its position in terms of its exchange value in the country today?
Thank you very much, Kirian. Let me say, first of all, that as of today, there is still much pressure in the foreign exchange market. The demand for foreign exchange is very high in relation to the supply of foreign exchange. And the external reserves position is not that comfortable. As at March, April, the external reserve stock stood at about 35 billion US dollars. And that could finance about 6 months, of goods and services. Which means that the ability of the Central Bank of Nigeria to defend the Naira, to ensure stability as is most desired, is very, limited. And so we find that the demand pressure that has caused so much depreciation of the Naira in the foreign exchange market is still very much there. The appetite of Nigerians to import goods and services, services in terms of invisibles, the appetite has not reduced. Rather, the appetite has increased. But then the sources of foreign exchange, have been dwindling. The oil sector, used to be a major supplier of foreign exchange to the country, supplier of external reserves. But in the past 1 year or so, there has not been much, if any, accretion to the foreign exchange reserve stock, as a result of the operations of the oil sector. And non-oil exports have also been, rather limited. So that is the major reason why the foreign exchange stock or external reserve stock has been, on the downward trend. Because of issues relating to macroeconomic instability, operating environment, capital inflows has also been, highly pressured. So you find that as of today, there is a strong imbalance between the supply of foreign exchange to be used for importing various goods and services, and the demand. The gap between them is very wide. So we have excess demand. And that's the major reason the Naira has been depreciating, both in the official market and also in the parallel market. So that is currently the situation. There is no breathing space, for now, unless drastic measures are taken. If the government has the will to implement certain measures, then the situation may not be, that better by the time the incoming administration, comes on board. So as of today, in a summary, the foreign exchange market is still under very high pressure with excess demand, causing depreciation of the Naira exchange rate.
Thank you very much, Professor Mike Abada. We'll come back to you in the course of the conversation. Let's return to the studios here. Shuaibu Idris, look, let's, again, for the purposes of a number of our viewers, who may not have deep insights into the dynamics of the exchange rate. Somebody would take a look, for instance, and say, 8 years ago, what was the exchange rate of the Naira to major currencies, including the dollar? It was 200 and something or less. Today, why is the value the way it is? And the other question that would also arise as a consequence of evaluating this is, when you get into some, again, I say it with the greatest respect to such persons, on enlightened cycles, you will hear, oh, they will make the Naira $1 to 1 Naira. I mean, it's as if we're going back to the 70s and 80s before the structural adjustment program. But more crucially, why is it that 8 years ago the Naira exchanged for, as I said, below 200 Naira, and today, I was talking about the parallel market, and today you would need well over 700 Naira to chase $1?
Thank you. I love that preposition that we can make $1 to be equals to 1 Naira. I think that is what we can say impossible, and it cannot be. Let's start by defining what is exchange rate really, and how are exchange rates determined. Exchange rate is basically the interrelationship between one country's currency with another. Over the years, the world has turned into countries, and as at last count, we have close to about 177 currencies that countries use. Certain jurisdiction, like the euro, you have like 20, 30 countries using one currency, and other countries are not having a central bank, like the Francophone African countries that decide not to have central bank, but just a monetary kind of relationship with France, so they don't print their currency. So when a country is trying to trade with one another, the interrelationship between one country and another tries to see the price parity between a commodity, say in Ghana, that uses CD as its currency, would say Nigeria that use Naira at its own currency. So that interrelationship, is what we call exchange rate. So valuation between one country's currency and another. Now, what determines the value of a country's currency? I think fundamentally 2 factors. You can say the economic fundamentals and the financial fundamentals. Professor Mark Obaden, our elder and renowned economics, has spoken about one particular factor, which is demand. He did assert that demand is higher than supply. Conventional economic theory, what we used to call O.A. Lawal Economics 101, posit that when demand outstrips supply, what happens? Price go up. So naturally, when Nigerians have propensity to demand foreign goods and services, and therefore we will need to get dollars or foreign currency in general, whether Chinese yuan, euro, the dollar, or Japanese yen, to import cars or other items. What that means is our currency will gradually be depreciated, or other words, devalued. Like I did say, the fundamentals are 2, the economics and the financials. Our economic fundamentals, particularly the manufacturing sector, is near in a comatose state. Most of the manufacturing sectors or manufacturing companies that we have are not operating at optimal capacity. That is, even if they are operating. And where they are, we have inadvertently, implemented a policy of import substitution, so much so that we do not add so much value on our production process. The financial fundamentals central bank that is supposed to be a major regulator and player in the price stability mechanism. To the best of my knowledge and belief, in the last few years, the Central Bank of Nigeria did a lot of things that leaves much to be desired. The balance sheet expansion of the central bank, the pumping of enormous amount of money into the system in manners that they call intervention in either aviation or agri, anchor borrower scheme, this, that, you know, balloon the money supply, which made the Naira to be further depreciated. So on one side, the economic fundamentals are weak, and the other side, the financial fundamentals are also challenging. Professor Obadan, I go back to him again, he did allude to the fact that the supply side is also threatened, or has been threatened. Oil price went down. We had a situation where this country was producing an average of 2.5 million barrels of oil per day. We went down to producing less than 1 million barrels per day. As at the time, like you did say, Kingsley, 5-8 years ago, we had 200 Naira to $1. How much was our foreign reserve? Somewhere around $47 billion. We had an ECA, excess crude account, excess crude oil account that we maintain. We had close to about $8 billion in that. We have a sovereign wealth fund, the NSIA, the National Sovereign Investment Authority. We had about $1-3 billion in those investments. The foreign reserve has dwindled to 35 billion. The excess crude account, the ECA, is zero. I think the last we checked is somewhere around $35 million, which is neither here nor there. So you will realize that the two edges of the sword are sharpening and deeply inflicting into our system. The supply side is threatened, the demand side is threatened because it's increasing. So at every level, the Naira has to be devalued. And to worsen the situation, I'm sorry to say, in the last 7 to 8 years, we have had a government that appeared not to so much look at the economy as something that needed to give the attention that it deserves. We never had a presidential economic advisor. We didn't have a planning minister. When even we decided to have a planning minister, we recruited a lawyer. I'm sorry, Kingsley, I know you are a lawyer, but no offense intended. But we had a lawyer as, a planning minister. These are no steps that, as a nation, we should take. And Central Bank Governor, our dear friend and brother, Godwin Emefiele, decided to have, dual exchange rate. These steps took us more than 25 years backward. If you go into the trajectory from Babangida's regime, when we had the IFM, the SPEM first, second-tier foreign exchange market, down to retail Dutch auction. I don't want to go into the trajectory of that for want of time, but we had SPEM, IFM, FM, WDAS, RDAS, and all those were in an effort to either have a floating exchange rate, a crawling exchange rate, several exchange rate mechanisms have been implemented only for Mr. Emefiele and the team leading, the pricing mechanism to take us back to dual exchange rate.
Okay.
This has, believe you me sincerely, stalled the economic development of this country.
All right, Shuaib Idris, thank you very much indeed. There are a number of issues that you have raised, but I keep also wondering about certain things. You mentioned about Babangida's regime, when he brought all manner of mechanisms or policies and what have you. But again, during that regime, he also mentioned that this is a nation that has defied all known and unknown economic, mechanisms that never worked. SAP was, of course, the last straw that, of course, Nigerians did not enjoy. Because at the point we were asking whether that SAP had a human face at the point it was implemented, because Nigerians were practically suffering. So that goes to show that we have not gotten it right in terms of balancing, that we're talking about here this morning.
It was Obasanjo who asked the Babangida administration to give SAP a human face.
Exactly. And I remember he said that while he was in South Africa. I was in South Africa. I remember that vividly. Now, Professor Badan talked about the external reserve, not comfortable at about $35 billion for a nation as big as Nigeria. And he says that it can only service 6 months of business dealings, in Nigeria. And again, Shoaib talks about economic fundamentals and financial fundamentals. He has raised some of them. My interest is in the manufacturing aspect of what he raised. Now, let me bring you in from our Lagos student, Dr. Tobe Faswa here. We've hosted you a number of times on issues relating to finance and the economy. And of course, you've always come up with something I will call uncommon ideology. Now, let's have it this morning as to what can be done to stabilize the Naira in view of the fact that the nation is going to change a baton of leadership in the next couple of weeks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kirian. So basically, I think, first of all, I will not take the kind of pessimistic view of the last speaker. And because I see a few levels of control that the incoming government can use to achieve a better result. But when you talk about stabilizing the Naira, it's a very interesting concept. The point is, I believe that the Naira officially has been fairly stable in the last 1 year or thereabout or two, having moved officially from about 440 to about 461 today. However, when we talk about multiple exchange rates, that's another contention which needs to be clarified. There are different exchange rates for different transactions in Nigeria. That is what needs to be harmonized. But we're not talking about harmonizing with the so-called black market rate. The black market rate cannot be an official rate for the central bank to pursue, because no matter how much you pursue the black market, it keeps shifting to the right. Because so long as there are transactions that need to be fulfilled by the black market, apart from official or legitimate transactions that cannot be fulfilled by the central bank that have to go to this black market, there's also transactions that are illegal, informal sector transactions, bribery and corruption, drug transactions, prostitution transactions, all sorts of things that go into that black market. So it cannot be our benchmark. The first thing we need to do is to define the black market properly for what it is. It is an illegal market. It exists in every country in the world. If you went to some of the advanced countries, there are black markets for foreign exchange. Only that when you're approaching those markets, you will also be afraid and you will understand that anything can happen to you when you go there. The problem with Nigeria is that we have mainstreamed the black market, given, of course, that the central bank is not able to meet many official transactions. According to research, however, the black market is still a fairly thin market. When you talk about the major imports into this country, they cannot be satisfied by the black market. We're talking of billions of dollars that are run every month in terms of importation. You go to the ports and see, even things like petroleum that we import and so on, which cannot be met by the black market. So majority of Nigerian foreign exchange transactions are still met. Anybody can avail themselves of the data, are still met by the official market. They are, however, it's slow, it's inefficient. That is what the central bank must deal with going forward. Can you define what you want? Can you use technology to ensure that transactions are verified before you confirm them, before you send money in those places? Because we know that our people, many of our people are also up to different shenanigans. A lot of so-called from M transactions, import transactions, are not actually based on any real transaction. People want to send money abroad to their friend's account and reroute it back to Nigeria and make their spread and make money. It is what it is, so we have to be on point. However, like I said before, I'm not taking a pessimistic view. For example, maybe on the May 22nd of this year, by God's grace, the Dangote refinery will be commissioned, and hopefully, let's assume that they actually go into production quickly. In Nigeria, the biggest import line in Nigeria is technology. According to central bank numbers on import and export, the biggest import line is technology. Your phones, the laptops, the equipment through which I'm talking to you, we don't produce any of this in Nigeria. We spend tens of billions to import some of these things every year, including machinery in our different remaining industry. The second biggest import is petroleum products, and that's the truth. Now, if we would not have to send dollars abroad, we're talking of about 15 billion to 20 billion dollars every year that we use to import fuel into Nigeria. If we would not have to do that, that is savings. Clearly, it dovetails as savings. Whatever needs to be done to ensure that this Dangote refinery is successful, including some of the other modular refineries, we have to do. If we cannot, a refinery business, in my view, is no longer the kind of business that civil servants and public servants can run. So in a way that takes out the influence of the public sector. It's not a family business. It's not a social service. It's a business. And we have seen a lot of compromise, even sabotage of some of those refineries over time. So if we're able to do that, we are going to be saving quite a bit of money on that side. And if we look at the supply side as well, that means that the NNPC, if we're able to remove the subsidy, as they said they will, and I've also suggested ways by which they can remove the subsidy successfully, okay, and let's move away from that regime. Okay, we're talking about 4 trillion to 6 trillion every year that is being spent on subsidy. Convert that into dollars. And that's quite substantial, maybe 100 billion, almost 100 billion, which is taken as subsidy every year. Okay, if we're able to take that out, that means that the NNPC Limited, as it is right now, which is trying to get more efficient, if anything that is sold by way of crude oil abroad, they are able to get most of the bulk of the cash back into the system, and that is the supply side of the equation. Apart from the other reforms that are being carried out in the non-oil sector to ensure that Nigerians are able to, export more and try to add more value. And no matter how, and look, I'm not a spokesman for the current regime, and I also believe that yes, the economic managers haven't done well in the last 8 years. It's terrible. However, also we must realize also that not only are they a bit, not too efficient, but they also were unlucky. So in 2016, we went into a recession because the price of crude fell. What it just means is that we are so dependent on crude and crude and crude every time. In 2020, we now had a bigger scenario where, having started grappling with that recession since 2016, which led to a devaluation at that point in time from 199 to 360. By 2020, the whole world went into COVID. And what did we see? The world shut down and everybody started printing money. And that's what happened. And there's nothing they did in the central bank that they didn't do anywhere in the world. People should go and research. Every country leaned on their central bank to collect basically paper money and just get the economy moving and people surviving one way or the other. So, but it's their account to carry. But the last thing I want to say before I close is that whatever we will do, the foreign exchange scenario is a very sensitive scenario. In 2016, when President Buhari decided to remove fuel subsidy, and they did announce that they were removing fuel subsidy once and for all, and the fuel price went from 87 Naira to 145. But the mistake they made was that at 145, when Naira was selling at 199 to the dollar, that was basically about 80 cents per liter in dollar terms that we were paying, which was commensurate with what obtained internationally. But the moment they devalued, so after the regulation, you now went and devalued the currency to 360, 145 became 40 cents, and the next thing was NNPC started another set of subsidy, which they then called under recovery. Therefore, the foreign exchange management of a country is something that should be carefully done. It's not supposed to be done on whims and caprices. Those people who know, especially guys who play in the financial market, are trying to push Nigeria to a scenario where we abandon the managed float and we start to pursue a black market that will never stop. For as long as you pursue the black market rate, the so-called black market rate, it will keep shifting. And that's it. And that's how we got here. Every time they will promise you nothing will happen, the next thing you see, that rate is doing 700 and something today. If you toy with it, it's going to get to thousands. Every country of our size and experience and history can only try to manage its path, okay, its journey towards development. especially as it pertains to foreign exchange. In 1986, it was General Ibrahim Babangida, that took us to SAP, and that was the first time we devalued our currency. But they also came with some of the recommendations of the SAP to open up the economy. When you devalue your currency and you open up your economy, you have ruined your people. And that's exactly what happened in our scenario. You cannot devalue your currency without protecting your economy and ensure that your people are able to produce what it is that they need. It's got to be a hard reset. It's a shock therapy. But when you open up your economy, because somebody in maybe IMF or World Bank says it's the right thing to do, they're going to come back and laugh at you. Of course, the World Bank and IMF subtly, over time, later on apologize, for some of the policies they push down our throats. But hey, we also have to start thinking for ourselves. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Tokwe Fashwa, for your intervention. Just one point to clarify. Well, you and I are black, and of course, we are a national public broadcaster. Perhaps it's a slip today. You probably are aware that our preferred phrase is not the black market, because we don't want to engage in any self-deprecation. It's the parallel market. That's what we try to use. If you say the black market is a dangerous zone, we're all blacks, and the devil is black, and so on and so forth, we get away from that and focus on the parallel market. So we'll come back to you later on in the course of the conversation. Now, to Dr. Aminu Gwadabe. Dr. Aminu Gwadabe, of course, you've listened to all the other guests, and in particular, Dr. Tokwe Fashwa, who is right there with you in the Lagos studios. Many would also argue that the factors of demand and supply also have a role in the pricing of the Naira and other major currencies on the parallel market. But the example I gave earlier, to say, look, 8 years ago, what was the value of the Naira to the dollar? Under 200. And in fact, well before that, for many years, it hovered around 150 to 152 Naira. For many years, you could go to anywhere around the country and pick that up. But suddenly, we've seen the spike. And you have been our guest on the program over time. Now, part of what we have also seen in the economy, and I'm sure you are aware of this, it looks like official and even unofficial access to the forex market often just collapses. Because when people are pricing their goods that are imported, they will tell you, don't you know that Naira rate now is, as at now, say, it's over 700, including those who are importing diesel into the country. Now, if diesel, do they come to the parallel market to access their forex? Every other person will tell you this is the exchange rate of the Naira. Nobody seems to be concerned with the IR-in window for access to forex. And of course, there have been allegations, and you have responded to those allegations in the past, as to how some of your members tend to tweak the market and play on the value of the Naira. Dr. Gwadabe.
Mr. Kinsley, thank you very much. First, I want to seek for your permission to send the message of over 6,000 corporate institutions of my members to align with the position of the incoming government in terms of unification of exchange rate. We stand by it, and we felt it's important. It will remove all the fraudulent activities around it so that we can have a true market price. And it's germane for the exchange rate to have a true market price. Secondly, the foreign exchange of a country is its oxygen. So being the oxygen of a country, which means it shows its pivotal role in the economy that it must be looked into and take at any given time so that we'll continue to be self-reliant. America today is strong not because of its weaponry, but because of its stability of its own dollar and the strength of its own dollar. Euro dollar already that is in circulation keep the American economy. And that is why we have seen countries now are even moving to other currency zones, changing from receiving payments in dollars to other currencies. So this is the challenge, this is the new trend that is even taking place to show how important the exchange rate of a country it is. Then the issue we are facing, thirdly, I think I don't want us to continue to say the parallel market is not important or does not impact negatively on the exchange rate. Negatively on the exchange rate. I'm happy even the Financial Action Task Force, even though the grey-listed Nigeria and South Africa, they have come to recognize the impact, the negative impact of this informal market. Since you have given us a directive or a way of the word to use, I would prefer to use informal market instead of black market or a parallel market. So the activities of the parallel market have been widening. From 1986, when we introduced the structural adjustment program, the Naira had been devaluated by over 4,300% and also depreciated by over 7,300%. I mean devaluation by official fiat, administrative fiat, and I mean depreciation by market forces. So this is the trend of where we are. Then the Naira is weakening, not because of the purchase of dollar, but most importantly, you see, this is Nigeria. This is the only place you can find Nigeria. We have our peculiarities. So that's why sometimes when we try to ignore the activities of the parallel market, when you even go and buy the FX from the official window, you now mark yourself with the parallel market. That's only what the importers are doing. That's all what the manufacturers are doing. And when we are making analysis, we say that parallel market is not a pointer to our economic prices. It is a pointer. So, having said that, also the grafted funds or on any income is the one that is putting pressure on the exchange rate because of our peculiarity. I'm happy Dr. Tunde have said that corruption is graft on any income. This is heavy on our own exchange rate. Two, there is loss of confidence. Even the inflows that are coming, we talk about the supply side, whereby investors, portfolio investors, foreign direct investors that need to come into this country are staying at bay because there is loss of confidence. Most of them have lost their money by the time that they are existing because of the volatility in exchange rate. A volatile Naira have underpinned the slow growth of the economy. A volatile Naira continue to worsen, like you said, collapse. I don't want to use the word collapse of the market, but distortions are happening in the market that are making our reality to be blurred. Thirdly, there is currency substitution. What we are seeing, a lot of people now prefer to even hold the dollars instead of holding the Naira. When we came with the issue of Naira design, I said, is Naira a preferred currency of holding? Naira is not a preferred currency of holding. Nigerians prefer to hold dollar. Even financial institutions, they make their holding in foreign currency abroad. So this is the problem. Naira substitution is also killing the stability of our own exchange rate. And also finally, if we look at the issues of our commodity terms of trade, is very, very vulnerable. That's when we talk our balance of payments. What we import is far, far higher than what we export. The yield value of our primary product is very, very poor. Look at the export procedure. Now you want to export, you have about 40 agencies to clear your goods for you to export your commodity abroad. Standardization is another issue that is creating havoc in terms of our foreign exchanges. We have relied so much on demand measures. So we need to move from demand measures to supply measures. Relying from time immemorial, crude cannot solve our problem. We need to think outside the box. And how do you do it? Now, the association and other stakeholders, and I'm happy meeting the doctor here. I've been looking for him. Thank you for giving me this platform. Stakeholders need to come together for repositioning of Naira for growth. Is very, very, very important. Two, there is the need for market price discovery. I'm not a student of allowing the price to be determined by market price, But at the same time, what we are doing is economic patriotism. You are allowing people to buy this thing at 463, and yet they are round tripping it to the parallel market that we don't want to, or informal market that we don't want to recognize and make huge profit. So these are some of the challenges that are happening. So there is the need for a true market discovery. Then also the unification of exchange rate is very, very important. It's a difficult thing. How many people are benefiting? Some people are paying the price, and these are the masses of this country. You buy 460, and the product, the end product, the final product you are buying it at 750 naira. So who is suffering? I think we need to rethink, we need to rejig and accept reality. It's when we accept reality that we can be fair to ourselves and come up with policies that are effective, that are efficient. What we normally see from SAF to date, instead of closing the gap, these policies, because of their inefficiencies, they contributed in widening the gap. So what can we do to ensure that this gap, we hold it, is market price discovery?
All right. As a matter of fact, Dr. Aminu Gwadabe, President of Bureau de Change Operators of Nigeria, I'm going to remain with you. You have already made some clarifications. But, Dr. Fashua talked about the mainstreaming of a parallel market, which of course, if I understood him, it's not right to mainstream parallel market. I mean, you have also mentioned the importance, the relevance of the parallel market. And you alluded to the fact that there are distortions or discrepancies, as the case may be, especially among your members and other stakeholders in this. And you talked about unification of exchange rate. Now, that brings me to the role of your men in the entire scenario. A number of occasions, your men have been accused of laundering for unearned funds, which you talked about, which they also inject into the system. There's also the issue of currency substitution, which you mentioned. And many Nigerians believe that your men are part of the persons that are operating, or rather that are responsible for the distortions, discrepancies, and what have you. Do you have a mechanism by which you checkmate your members as to what are their activities? Because when Central Bank of Nigeria struck last year against your men, many Nigerians questioned the policy and the implementation strategy of that policy. And we all said, look, that the CBN should have taken it a lot easy because of the importance and relevance of Bureau de Change operation in Nigeria. Now, are your men playing their role the way it should be to ensure that as a part of the stakeholders, you do not exacerbate the already difficulty we're having stabilizing the Naira with respect to the exchange rate in Nigeria?
Once again, I think what I don't like is about the generalization of criminalization. When we analyze these grafted funds and unearned income, who are the deposit takers of this money? That's one question I'm throwing to you. So let's identify who are the deposit takers of this grafted and unearned income. So that will show us that it's not a one sector, it's a multifaceted, multidimensional challenge. In terms of our members, what we are doing, the last policy suspending our members in 2021 from the market have vindicated us. Before we are suspended, the exchange rate was about, even the informal market was about 495 thereabout, while the official is about 365. This is a policy that have almost embarrassed everybody. Now we are talking about even the I&E window. I commended the central bank for having the gut, to have at least moved from 360 to the I&E window, recognizing I&E window as the official market of transaction. That is one. Two, our members have been the most important laboratory apparatus from 2006 to date. I always repeat it on this program. when you cannot certify the retail segment of the market, no matter how you put, how much you put, volume you put on the wholesale market, you are going to continue to face mismatch and disequilibrium in prices. There is no liquidity in the retail sector. And the retail sector is what almost everybody is using as benchmark to determine what this exchange rate is going to be. So our primary role as a central bank licensed bureau de change is to meet the needs of the retail sector market, which you have been playing. I remember, is it a miracle? In 2016, there is a recession. Yet, our exchange rate, reserve, was not more than $25 billion. And the rate was stable from 2016 to 2019. This is as a result of the activity of the bureau de change. I'm not saying we have no issues. We have issues, and we have studied those issues, we have identified them, and we embrace innovation. And we are ready for reforms and consolidation. I'm happy the incoming government, they are looking into reforms and consolidation. Even the central bank came as a result of reform. In the 1950s, we have even Naira and Kobo Bank. There are a lot of banks, institutions here and there. So we are not averse to reform. But our annoyance is that our livelihood has been withdrawn. Many Nigerians have depended on this business, and now we have gone extinct. The activities, even the so-called farmers, look for $2 million, even $1,000 you are looking for in the bank to travel, you cannot see it. Most of the foreign exchange transactions are not even taking place formally, they are taking place informally. We have the creations of even international market. We don't even know where is their office. Are they in Kenya, or they are in Ghana, or they are in Nigeria, which control our exchange rate on daily basis. So we are working, we are putting reforms, we are also embracing technology. We have also been working with the Central Bank of Nigeria, like our members now are all talking about traceability, transparency, and accountability. Our members, from the comfort of their office, they can send their returns to CBN. We are all connected. Over 4,000 to 5,000 members are connected to the CBN server, that they can report their activity online real time. About almost 2,000 to 3,000 of our members are already in what we call the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit server, where we can render suspicious transaction report, we can render cash transaction report. So we're all encompassing. We have identified our weakness, and we are putting measures to mitigate those weaknesses. So we are willing and ready to work with the incoming government. We have the key. We have the solution. I want to go with Dr. Fatweshe that we should not be pessimistic. Honestly speaking, Nigeria is a country where a lizard can turn to a crocodile. So who said we cannot make it? We can make it. It's just collaboration and engagement of stakeholders. And the informal sector have to be looked into and work around it, create mechanisms that we should, for God's sake, encourage local content. Imagine, we talk of IMTSO. The CBN have tried to license almost about 70, 80 IMTSO. How many of them are Nigerians? This stop you.
All right, Dr. Abedu Gwadabe, thank you. We are having to come back to our headquarters studios, and thanks a lot for that jibe, because they are both reptiles. A lizard is a reptile, a crocodile is a reptile, an alligator is also a reptile. We'll take a short break now, gentlemen. When we return, we'll continue with the conversation.
My name is Kufre Jeremy Pats. I'm one of the empowered them. After that, you upload everything through net. At the end of it now, they shortlisted me. So I went for physical verification. After that, they are now giving me the post to propose me to my primary assignment, NTA.
My name is Abimbola Majokodumonokoya, and I'm from Abuja, Ogun State. Actually, I just got here coming from United States as a frequent flyer into Nigeria. I've never been to this airport. I've kind of heard about it, but I've never seen it. So when I came out from the airport, I was kind of disoriented a little bit, like what's going on here?
I'm Comrade Derigo Ahidiame. I'm from Edo State, Nigeria. I'm coming from a trip. I've passed through so many African countries before getting to this place. When I saw Nigeria airport, I marvel.
So I just want to commend the work that's been done here. It's a beautiful place. I mean, I made quite some videos and pictures, unlike the other airports.
Kudos to the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari.
And I give it up to Buhari for giving us this beautiful airport. I hope the maintenance culture kicks in.
The counsel of our fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
All I need to say about the second River Niger Bridge, 21 years ago, as I came onto this throne, it will normally take you 3 to 4 hours to cross the bridge. I mean, if you are going to Lagos, you spent almost half your time on the bridge. And you were stuck on the bridge before you came across from Asaba this morning. Now, could you imagine how the people of Onitsha and Asaba have endured such a situation for over 25, 30 years? This is reality. We cannot overestimate the importance of the second River Niger Bridge. To express appreciation to our President, Muhammadu Buhari, for being the vehicle for the execution of this monumental project.
You're welcome back, and it's still Good Morning Nigeria on NTA's network service. All our 4 regular guests are still with us as we discuss how to stabilize the Naira after May 29th with the incoming administration. Let's go back to our Benin Network Center, where we still have Professor Mike Obadan. Professor Mike Obadan, again, let's begin to dissect some of the issues that you gentlemen have raised this morning. We say there are challenges with the supply side. Now, somebody who is hearing that for the first time would wonder, so one, what happened with the returns on economic diversification? Secondly, was there a link between our recourse to external borrowing and the bonds that we were issuing and the repayment of those bonds and the pressure on our external reserves? And what are the returns on the borrowing? Are there things that we could have done differently that, of course, we didn't have the opportunity of fixing?
Thank you very much, Kingsley. You've asked questions relating to what happened to the economic diversification of the country and also the issue of external borrowing impact. But let me plead with you to permit me, first of all, to clarify a few points made by my guests. First one being the issue of exchange rate. What is exchange rate? Mr. Shuaibu Idris defined it in terms of the interrelationship between perhaps one country's currency and another. But let me explain it in very simple terms and what determines it. The exchange rate is the price of one currency in terms of another. For example, how much quantity of Naira exchanges for $1 or vice versa. And that exchange rate is determined fundamentally by the level of production and productivity of an economy, in particular the production and export of goods and services. As of today, Nigeria is a low productivity economy in relation to several other economies, particularly in the advanced world. And you find then that a low productivity economy exchanges large quantity of its currency, for a unit of currency of a high productivity economy. And so, in light of the productivity status of Nigeria, it's not surprising that the exchange rate over time has been going up and up. That is to say, more Naira exchanging for other, key currencies, over time. And secondly, Mr. Idris made a point concerning the CBN's role in the last few years and how it impacted the exchange rate. He said that the bank did many things that left much to be desired, and gave an example of pumping money, too much money into the economy and the pressure on the exchange rate. Well, yes, the central bank pumped money into the economy in the last few years in the context of two recessions, in the context of COVID-19. And, Dr. Fashua rightly explained that during COVID-19, for example, and the associated recession, other countries in the world pumped billions and trillions of dollars into their economies to take the economies out of recession and fight the exigencies of COVID-19. So invariably, yes, the central bank pumped money into the economy, but to meet development purposes, to meet the needs of development, and to also help take the economy out of the two recessions that the country had in the past 6 or 7 years. So it was not printing or pushing money into circulation for the sake of doing so. Yes, such monies in one way or the other had some impact on the exchange rate, but they were largely targeted towards the exigencies of development. And that's why the bank had implemented numerous development finance interventions. I bet you that if the bank had not done what it did, the economy probably would have grounded to a halt. Somebody may want to debate that one, but that is the truth of the matter. Now, thirdly, the issue of multiple exchange rate, dual exchange rate had been raised. And Mr. Idris again said dual exchange rate stalled the development of the economy. No, I wouldn't say so. And Dr. Gwadabe also mentioned the need to, have a unified exchange rate. How many exchange rates do we have? The official exchange rate determined through the I&E or importers and exporters window, and is market driven. That rate is market driven. Perhaps the other rate Mr. Idris talked about is the rate that supports development of small and medium enterprises, enable them import desired goods to produce, create jobs in the country, and reduce employment. If that is the rate we are talking about, there is no problem. It can easily be harmonized with the official rate. But we cannot talk about harmonizing the official rate with the parallel market rate. For me, that is impossible and is not desired. The parallel market is not the market that can determine the exchange rate. It's a tiny proportion of the totality of the foreign exchange market in Nigeria. And to the extent that
Professor Baden, I wish we have all the time, really, for you to go further in your elucidation. But, you'll have another opportunity to expatiate on some of the points that you have raised. Let's bring in Shuaibu Idris here now. Quickly pose the question before, part of it you could also take. But let's just make it, as fast as we can. He talked about the pumping money. He justified the money that central bank intervened with in different sectors of national life. But other persons could also think of, well, you've pumped in money. What are you now doing to forestall future occurrence of such situations in terms of production, in terms of ensuring that we are producing? Critically growing up, in commerce, tell you why do African countries have issue with the balance of payment or the balance of payment in international trade? It's because you're importing more than what you're importing more than you produce, and they're not producing what you are utilizing. So, Shuaibu Idris, what's your take? Make it brief, please, because
quickly, Kirian. When you are talking with elders, you have to moderate your words. Professor Mike Obadan, as an elder, believe you me sincerely, yes, the central bank did pump money. And you and I cannot disagree with the fact that when you have a balloon and you blow so much air into it, the consequential thing that will happen is it will burst. And this is what has happened in the case of Nigeria and the central bank pumping money. Why do we have challenge in the money that has been pumped by the central bank? It's because those monies were not targeted as much as they should be. The juries are out on the Anchor Borrower Scheme. Only about 30-35% of the Anchor Borrower Scheme loans are performing. The rest is not performing. So the country will lose about 70% of that quantum of money that was pumped. And most of it was extended to political farmers. I mean, let's call a spade for once. We have Ways and Means account that the National Assembly just recently approved for the government of the Federation to eventually issue notes. Where was this Ways and Means account? What happens to it? From Obasanjo time till Goodluck Jonathan's time, there was never a time when we had Ways and Means account. Why do we have it now? So the central bank did help in pumping so much money. I don't want to use the word mismanage the economy, but distorting the price stability. Let's fast track the conversation. What do we need to do? I'm not a pessimist, and I sincerely believe that it is indeed possible to redeem the situation. Like Chelsea fans will say, impossible is nothing. The government of Asuwaju can sit down.
They won yesterday.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. I'm not a fan of Chelsea. But government of Asuwaju can look at the supply side. We need to block the leakages in terms of oil theft. We need to enhance investment in the oil sector so that we can up the ante in terms of our production capacity to be producing near 2.5 million barrels a day. We need to look at the manufacturing sector, two particular sectors. Kingsley, Kirian, side conversation, we are talking about what happens to the economic diversification. We have a country that is agrarian in nature. Why are we not having a manufacturing industry that is processing sesame seed? Why are we not adding value in cashew nuts? Why are you not adding value in cocoa beans that we grow here? Why are we not adding value in ginger? Yet, from Babangida's days to today, the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has given export expansion grant of trillions of naira to hide and skin sector, to some of these sectors. Why is the government not insisting, just like we insisted in cement production, that guys, we will give you license to import cement, but you must have an inward looking to produce cement locally. Today we are net exporter of cement. Why are we not doing that in terms of the agricultural sector? We spend so much in importing sugar. Why are we still importing sugar? A country that has how many millions of arable lands that we can produce sugarcane and produce sugar and export. Why are we not insisting that we must be locally self-sufficient in this? As long as the new government and the new administration does not look at that supply side, we will have an issue. The other supply side, the demand side, why we are still having challenges with our educational system? Why should we be sending our children to schools abroad? Why are we still going for medical attention? Recently, our dear brother, distinguished Senator Ikoro has issues in just transplant, something that can be done even via technology. The doctor will be sitting somewhere in US or in UK and you can do it here. We need to look at the demand side and block some of the leakages. The issue of petroleum, needless to talk about that. And you know, these are quick picks that the new economic management team that we pray and hope that Asuwaju will bring on board should be able to, within the next 90 days, the first 90 days of his administration, we need to see steps that will salvage the future of this country. I like the way Dr. Gwadabe put it. The oxygen of any economy is the exchange rate. And the pivotal, you know, the most important factor that Asuwaju should look at is what do I need to do to improve the economy so that it can dovetail on employment and other factors.
All right, Shwaibu Idris, thank you very much. Dr. Tokwe Fashua, let's get what will appear to now be your closing thoughts, at least for this segment of the conversation, in reaction to the issues on the table. It's a conversation, of course, that we're going to continue with in the course of the week ahead of May 29, because there's no way we could have conceivably dealt with the relevant issues as well as made recommendations on what to do. So if you want to respond to any of the issues you raised very briefly, in less than a minute, so that we can wrap up, and then, of course, re-invite the guests to continue the conversation later in the week.
Thank you very much, and I'm going to speak very quickly in staccato fashion. Quite a number of issues have been raised. So part of it is that we must, like I said earlier, remain optimistic. This economy hasn't actually started. I mean, we complain about ways and means, which, unfortunately, had been around, of course, before Buhari. In fact, the Goodluck Jonathan government had overdrawn that same ways and means. However, not in this very significant. It was 900 billion in 2015 before the government took over. So they had actually, it shouldn't have been more than 200. In fact, it should be nil by December of every year. So even maybe we've traced it back, realized that that account had been managed in that way over time. But that's what it is. Look, let's stay positive. There's still a lot to do. Dr. Gwadabe is here with me. The BDCs, for example, what do we need 6,000 for? In the UAE, they have 130. In the UK, they have 145. In the US, maybe less. We need big BDCs. It's a big business. In fact, some of them are more profitable than banks because they don't give loans. And they make their spread, they make their transaction fees, and they move on. So they should study the UAE example. Some of the skyscrapers in Dubai downtown is owned by some of those BDCs. You know, we need a reform. What are we doing with 6,000 licenses? And of course, those are Dr. Gwadabe's people. He has some other people who are, moving all over the place. Maybe they're up to 100,000 BDCs. What are we doing with all of these BDCs and, laundering money all over the place, lumbering money everywhere and so on, It's not their fault. However, proper regulation must be done and to reposition them going forward. I believe that we haven't started. On the demand side, do you know, sir, that, look, there's only one thing we sell that is in the $1 billion range, which is the crude oil. That's all. Okay? On the demand side, we import about 2 to 3 billion worth of pharmaceuticals every year in this country. We import milk of almost $1 billion in this country. We import fish and eggs of almost $1 billion every year in this country. And on the other side, what do you have? After your crude oil, you have cocoa of about $300 million, sesame seeds and other oil of about $400 million, and so on. So you can see already there's the imbalance. However, it must be said that no matter how bad this economic management of this government has been, they have also tried to reposition. Let's be fair to them. It's easy to just come and castigate and just say, oh, they've done everything bad. No, they haven't done everything bad. In fact, some of the things they've done has positioned the next government for success. And so we must stay positive, and I believe that we can surmount it. However, it's a big discussion on foreign exchange. It can be handled in maybe one show, as you have said. I'll be glad to come back, and it's something I've actually really written on and dwelt on over time to share.
Dr. Fashua, you will come back. You will come back. But Kingsley, in all these conversations that we had this morning, none of our guests, mentioned anything concerning science, technology, and innovation. And you were talking about how do you want to add value. You can't add value in any agricultural produce without technology. It is practically impossible. And on that note, we'll call it a day here. Before we do that, let's appreciate Shwabi Idris, Managing Director, Timeline Consultant Limited. And we also would like to appreciate from my Benin Network Center, Michael Baden, Professor Michael Baden, Professor of Economics and Chairman of Goldmark Education Academy. Of course, I will mention that he's also a member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria. We also had Dr. Tobe Fashua from our Lagos studio, founder, CEO, Global Analytics Consulting Limited. It's been wonderful talking to you this morning, sir. And Dr. Aminu Gwadabe, President, Bureau de Change Operators of Nigeria. With 6,000 members, I'm keen in. I also want to join because it's all about money making. Thank you indeed for coming. Okay, Kingsley.
So that's it for us on Good Morning Nigeria today. Tomorrow is another day, same time, 7 o'clock in the morning. Until then, look after yourselves. I'm Kingsley Osadolo.
And I am Kirian Umar. Do have a great day.